Thank you for attending today's webinar, Investing with Purpose and Values. I'm Sheena Maliska, and I'm the Client Experience Director with Astor Wealth. We're excited to connect with you today. Aligning your values with what's most important to you is significant because of the pandemic, and it gave us time to think, pause, and contemplate about the things that are most important to us. And as a team, we've started to incorporate values-based financial planning and investing into our process. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about that during today's session. And we hope you leave today's session with a better understanding of how you can incorporate your values in life and also in investing. So as you probably are aware, all participants are in listen-only mode and your lines have been muted. However, at the end of the session, there is a little raise your hand icon in the bottom of your screen. Feel free to hit that at the end if you have any questions, and you'll be allowed to ask your question and we can have some dialogue. So we'll proceed with our webinar. Today, you'll be hearing from some familiar faces, Vicki Molyneux and Mindy Zada, private wealth advisors with Astor Wealth. And our special guest is Greg Terzowski, Regional Director for RIA Services with Symmetry Partners. So I hope you enjoy today's conversation, and we're just going to jump right on in. So with that, I will hand it over to Mindy, who will start our session today.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Mindy Zada, and I want to thank you for being here with us today to learn about something that's important, and it's very near and dear to my heart, and I hope it is or will be to yours after today. So let's talk about values. Everyone has values, right? I mean, whether we're intentionally conscious of them or not, as human beings, our values are reflected really in every area of our lives and the decisions that we make, how we raise our children, how we vote, the charitable causes that we support. So what if you could do the same with the financial decisions that you make, and even take it a step further by being able to invest in a way that is in line with your values and what's most important to you? So to begin, we have to start with, what are our values? What's most important to us? So we've highlighted an exercise here that we've used with some of our clients that really help us to help them really identify and get clear on their top values. In fact, we have a values card exercise. So it's a stack of cards, about 30 values listed, and we ask them to go through and to first narrow it down to their top 15 values, and then 10, and then 5. And I'm going to tell you that, when you start getting down, especially to 15, 10, 5, it gets really hard, and sometimes harder, with couples and partners. Generally, the top 3 are pretty consistent, but from there it may change. And I can tell you for myself, I've got 7. I'm just not willing to go down to 5 that I try to live my life by. But there are many lists of values available online, even values exercises that you can engage in that will help you to determine what your values are. And if you haven't identified your values, then I really encourage you to put some quiet time aside, some uninterrupted time, and really focus on this and think this through. I'm almost embarrassed to share with you that I didn't really do this until last year, and made it very intentional for myself thereafter. And if you have identified your values, but it's been a while, then I encourage you to revisit them and perhaps do another values exercise, because some of your values may have changed over time, especially given the changes that we've all been through and have faced this past year and a half. I know that some of my values have changed because of it, and that's very natural and normal as our lives evolve and time goes on and experiences change and inform us. Sometimes things just become more or less important. So why is it so critical that you know what your values are when it comes to the financial planning and the financial decisions you make? Well, besides the fact that it's vital for us as your financial advocate, financial planner, to know what's most important to you, your values are why we are doing that planning to begin with. So knowing who and what is most important to you can help us to better help you reach your goals with an understanding of why. And that's incredibly powerful and, more importantly, empowering. Your values anchor who you are, and we want them to be reflected in the decisions that you make that will ultimately lead to you achieving your goals. Can you turn the slide, Sheen? All right, so another imperative point that we want to make here is that not knowing your values will put you at risk of making impulsive and emotional decisions. And I can admit to this myself. So this is just reality. This is how we are wired as human beings. And you can see the results here from a survey that Magnify Money did. They conducted it with over 1,000 consumers who have investment accounts, and 66% of these participants admitted, and I'll argue it was probably higher, but they admitted to making an investment decision based on emotions and impulse that they later regretted. So the important highlights here are that admission of making a decision based on emotion and impulse and then regretting it afterwards. So what if there was a better way? So I'm excited to introduce you to the alignment model. And I'm reasonably certain that you've probably heard of this in some form or fashion before today, maybe not in the same format. But the alignment model helps us to move from our real selves to our ideal selves, if you will, by aligning our behaviors with our goals that are established by the foundation that our values set out for us. And we could literally spend an entire webinar on this subject alone, but we're going to do our best to hit the highlights here. So aligning your financial and life decisions with your values doesn't come easy. So that's why that first step is so important, in that you need to identify your values. But from there, there's various landmines that take us out of alignment where our values are concerned. Our emotions, we get upset, fear, excitement, and then we deal with some mental biases here. We might be overconfident in something, or familiarity and confirmation biases can affect our decision-making, among others. And then just how our human brains are wired. And I'm really referring to here that natural fight, flight, or freeze reflex that can so easily get activated in us by fear or an outside stimulus that was unanticipated. So if you want to live a life and make decisions that are consistent with your values, then seeing your life in the alignment of these three frames, if you will be crucial. So first frame here, we have your moral compass. That includes your principles, those values, and the beliefs by which you live your life. And then they inform your goals there in the second frame. And then lastly, your behaviors. So alignment really happens when each of these frames are consistent with the other. So to drive this home further, you're in alignment when the way that you behave is consistent with the goals that you set for your life, and when those goals that you've set are consistent with the values that are most important to you. So let's talk about an example here. Say that family is one of your top values. It is for most people. Then one of your goals may be to provide for your family, whether you are alive or deceased. Your behaviors then might include protecting your family against your premature death by buying life insurance. And then, of course, saving and investing money to create a pot of money and create and provide long-term financial security to your family, whether you're here or not. So thinking about your life and decisions within the alignment of these three frames will help you to make the best possible life choices and achieve the best possible outcomes for every part of your life, not just your financial life. So living in alignment is a life approach here, or an approach to life, if you will. It's not just an approach to finances. So the more all your life choices are in alignment with your values, the more fulfilled you'll feel as a whole. So let's talk about those landmines for a moment, because that really threatens our ability to stay in that alignment. So as human beings, I've mentioned before, we're wired a certain way, and you're familiar probably with fight, flight, or freeze. That's just a natural way that we react as humans. It's very real, it's very normal, and it truly is just the way that human nature, how our brains are wired. So essentially, we're triggered so that our emotional responses in our brain override any rational decision making that we make. So we have the human experience triangle here, or we've named it the components of self-awareness. So what we have here is we have that outside stimulus coming in, if you will, and it could be a positive or a negative, but that's going to evoke and trigger emotions and feelings inside of us. And then we move automatically over to reacting. And many times we're reacting without giving it much thought at all. And then our thoughts follow suit. And then what happens is we need to have another arrow coming down here, but this can create or typically creates a continual cycle here that can sometimes spiral and create unintended and sometimes destructive results. So what if there was a better way? What if there was a way to kind of create a stop or a pause in between that emotion we feel because we're triggered and the reactions that we choose to take? What if there was a way for us to be able to better intentionally choose how we'd like to respond instead of just reacting all of the time? A tool we could really utilize that could help us to pause, to give us some time and space to thoughtfully reflect and decide on how we want to respond, how we want to move forward that could be more in line with our values and our personal integrity. So let me introduce you here to the 4 R's, another subject we could spend an entire webinar on. So again, I'll do my best to give you an abbreviated but meaningful explanation of the 4 R's here and why they're so important. So they are in chronological order: recognizing, reflecting, reframing, and then responding. So what the 4 R's really do is it gives us an opportunity to help rewire our brains to make the best possible rational financial and life decisions. The 4 R's will help us to stop the hijacking of our brains by our natural reactions, how we're naturally wired, and allow us to return to rational thinking. So the first important step here is to recognize when we are triggered, when we are activated, and to really become aware of all elements of the situation that you're in. Stop whatever it is that you are doing and take notice of everything, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what you're doing in relation to this trigger. And then try to pay attention to the objective facts around the situation and your potential reaction. Next, you want to give some time to reflection and reflecting about how are you interpreting this situation? What does the big picture really look like? And what matters the most? What values are important to you? And how should they influence your choices in this situation and how you move forward? What biases are out there that might exist that could potentially influence your understanding of the situation and the decisions you're making? I mean, this is really about taking a step back and saying, am I thinking about this situation correctly? Or are there other things at play here that may be kind of taking me out of being able to do that? Next, you have the opportunity to reframing your thoughts and your ideas about the situation. So this reframing really gives us the ability to modify how you're thinking about it, how you're describing that situation to yourself. I think about it in ways of the story I'm telling myself, right? Is the story I am telling myself furthering my narrative and my agenda, or is it the truth? So really reframing gives you the ability to look at it, hopefully in the most positive yet realistic way, and give you the ability to make better decisions. And then lastly, making the choice, and I say choice because we do have choices, choice to respond by not reacting, by making decisions that are consistent with our values and goals, and taking into consideration that reality, that bigger picture of current events, of the situation. So again, what the 4 R's really allow us to do is it interrupts that our brain's default response to that external trigger and that reaction, and it puts the power back into our hands. It allows us and gives us the power to change our natural responses in ways that will allow us to make better decisions that lead to a better, hopefully more impactful and positive life. And I wanted to share with you something I have found on my own little growth journey is the word responsibility and a play on its spelling, just by changing a couple of letters here. So with responsibility, we have the ability to respond. Again, the ability to respond in a way that's consistent with our values, goals, and I should have put in here leads to better outcomes. And that's really what it's all about. So how does that again lead back to all the financial stuff and the financial planning, right? So again, just to reiterate, identifying and acting in line with our values. Now, hopefully with the help of that alignment model and those 4 R's that we just talked about, will help you and us as your financial advocates come to help you better plan for your future and make better decisions today that will impact tomorrow. So we've highlighted 5 areas of planning that we typically cover with our clients, and I'm sure that you can understand how your values will impact each of these areas of planning ahead, enjoying and protecting your lifestyle. So your needs, your wishes, your goals, they shape your financial plan. And by us helping you to articulate your aspirations, infused and informed with your values, then we're more capable of understanding where you are, where you want to go, and putting a plan into place to help you get there. So Nikki is going to jump on here in just a moment to explain some of the elements of our financial planning process. But before she does, I want to speak for a moment about the evolution of financial planning and what clients have desires changing over time and really what we're seeing here. So the triangle really speaks to that evolution of what's most important to clients when they're engaging in financial planning, what they want to focus on. So it used to be back in the day, and sometimes for clients still, that it was really solely about managing money and getting that greatest rate of return here. So you can see the bottom tier of our triangle there really takes all those various things into consideration, like asset allocation and taxes and some of those other things that are really needed to have effective money management and effective growth. But then came the onset of goals-based financial planning, i.e., why are we saving this money? Why do we care about the rate of growth that we're getting or the risk that we're taking? So you can see we take a step up the triangle here to that achieving goals section. And it highlights some of the goals that clients typically have, whether that's retirement, planning for college, estate planning. And then this really naturally led to that next tier of the triangle where, again, why are we managing their money to reach the goals? Well, it's because it gives us peace of mind and knowing that we're on track to be able to take care of our loved ones with the freedom of worry and the confidence that we've done the planning that we need to live the life that we want. And then really to take it a step further and to move up to that top tier of the triangle, all of this planning, all of it can lead to greater purpose and our fulfillment, our personal fulfillment, by giving us the ability to reach and live out our life's purpose and create a more positive impact for our communities, the causes that are most important to us, and our loved ones that are beyond, again, just the money management, just meeting needs, just the goals. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki. She's going to discuss further and highlight how our own financial planning process addresses this, and also talk about some important trends that we are seeing today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mindy. I wanted to share with you a little bit about our team's planning process, because it truly begins with understanding you and your current situation. Our goal is not, we want to know how you got to be where you are today. We want to know the good, the bad, the ugly. We want to know the success stories, and of course, the setbacks that you've occurred along the way. This gives us better perspective so that we can also help you into the future. Our desire is to take your existing planning to the next level. Our clients find that sometimes when they're not looking at their situation on a cross-disciplinary basis, that they have coordination gaps in their planning. Sometimes they miss opportunities to improve their situation. So we as a team look at it not just from a legal or accounting perspective. We're not looking at things just from an investment or an insurance standpoint. We truly are looking globally and holistically at your entire financial situation. Most of our clients that we meet with come to us, they have various accounts, they have various financial products, they may have outdated legal documents, and our goal is to figure out what works, what doesn't, and make sure that going forward they have what's most efficient and what's going to get them there to meet their financial goals even sooner. Our clients have found the difference between doing the work and doing it as well as possible can definitely lead to greater confidence and clarity, and potentially savings of a lot of money, and most importantly, that sense of security that we're all now looking for in terms of knowing that we're going to achieve our financial goals. Once we have a very good understanding of where you are currently, then we'll work with you to get a better vision or clarity around your vision, your values, and your goals, because this is really when you begin to understand the possibilities and all the opportunities that are available to you. We also start to get under the hood to understand your emotional needs and your family dynamics, because as Mindy mentioned, this is truly what motivates most people in their decision-making process. Our process and our engagement goes beyond the numbers. We truly do want to deal with the heart of the matter, and we have clients for life. So even into the next generation, it's important that we understand it and know our clients personally so that we can help them plan for what matters the most. So in summary, we do three things. We bring creative design ideas to the table in the areas of wealth preservation and wealth creation. We coordinate and collaborate with your existing advisors, such as your attorneys and your accountants. And most importantly, we're that catalyst to make sure that things get done, because most people aren't walking around with this at the top of their to-do list. But our holistic planning process systematically identifies all of our clients' issues and concerns. And then, of course, we address them in order of our clients' priority. As Mindy mentioned, while in the past, most people really just focused on investment choices, looking at the risk of an investment, looking at rates of return. But today, clients want to be more intentional and more impactful with their investment so that they can then align their values. They want to know that what they're investing in will contribute to the causes that are important to them. In fact, coming out of the pandemic, we've seen even more of that. 2/3 of generations X, Y, and Z have expressed that this is very important to them. And while our team certainly evaluates and recommends the best-in-class investment strategies, along with associated risk and return, it really is the personal and family values that shape the decisions that you make and should be reflected into your financial plan. Otherwise, we find that people just aren't as committed to the long-term implementation of their plan and often throws them off track. So there has been a tremendous amount of growth and demand in this area. Aligning your values with your investments has never been more important than it is today, because people are seeking more purpose and meaning. They're starting to question what really matters. And we aren't out of this pandemic, and there's still a lot of negative emotions lingering. And with all that, our purpose and passion are fueled by our intentions and our peace of mind. So the demand for sustainable investing has definitely grown. And even if you're new to this area or idea of it, you've probably maybe seen it in the news or heard your friends or family talking about it. But sustainable investing as defined as environmental, social, and governance factors, otherwise known as ESG. It basically includes an investment approach or a decision-making process into your investments. For example, if there are many investors that are interested in supporting companies with sound environmental practices or labor policies or diversity initiatives and corporate governance, a sustainable investment approach basically provides a way for them to direct their investments in support of their ideals related to these consequential issues. So as you can see on this slide, from 2018 to 2020, US ESG investing grew by 42%, okay? Today, 33% of all US assets under professional management are in sustainable assets. And the growth of these assets have grew to an all-time high at the end of December 2020. We were at 1.65 billion in this area. So again, the interest is definitely there, the demand is there, and 72% of the US population expressed interest in this area. And no longer does gender or age matter. Everybody wants to know and learn more about this. So, and again, in our industry, there's definitely a trend as well, because 42% of advisors expect to increase their awareness and recommendations into these products over the next 2 years. As all this research has emerged, we also have come to realize that there are different mindsets that motivate people and their investment decisions. The vertical axis here represents those who are internally focused and want to just feel better about how they're investing and how their investments are providing security and peace of mind for themselves, compared to those at the top of the axis who are more externally focused and just want to create change in the world. They want their investments to make an impact, such as maybe decreasing world hunger or supporting clean technology. They want to know that the companies they are investing in are making a difference. The horizontal axis is our belief system. Are you an analytical investor where you seek numbers to confirm your decision? Or are you more of an emotional investor where it's less about the facts? You just want to have peace of mind and know that you're making a difference and it just makes you feel good. So then within each quadrant, we have different mindsets that we have identified. And the first is going to be that impact seeker on the top left quadrant. These people want and need change. They want to know that they're making a difference in the decisions that they're making, and they're driven by the results. Expression seekers on the right-hand side are the passionate take action type of investors. They want their investments to make a statement. They actually will even boycott certain companies by not making purchases through them if they don't believe in them. They want to reward good companies and punish the bad ones, and they prefer to stay entirely away from those companies that they consider unethical. The security seeker down in the left-hand quadrant, these are more of your traditional investors that just really want to secure their financial future. They're not typically going to make changes based on non-financial factors. They believe there are other ways to support the causes, and they really will only consider this if it improves their financial returns. But if you're entering this arena for the first time, most people come in as an alignment seeker, and these type of investors are what's referenced as the most reasonable, because they feel and know that their investments and their investment decisions we're seeking to align them, but it doesn't have to be perfect. These investors want to know and feel better about what they're doing. They expect transparency, and they really just want to make sure they're making progress toward aligning their capital with their values. And they just want to see what's available, what's possible in this arena. So as you can see, the importance of values is becoming more and more prevalent. As Mindy mentioned earlier in this slide, we really look at how the evolution of advice has changed over the last, especially few years with different generations. 2/3 of the generations X, Y, and Z on the left-hand side, you can see do want to align their investments with their values. But on the right-hand side, you can see that older investors are going to be more traditional, where they have more emphasis on managing money. You'll notice that, Gen X, Y, and Z, they want to achieve their goals. They want to feel good and have peace of mind about the decisions that they're making. And ultimately, they just want fulfillment, knowing that they're going to achieve their goals and that they're going to leave an incredible legacy to those they leave behind one day. So Greg, who was our special guest, is going to go over some of the ideas offered by Symmetry Partners, but these are just a few options available under this umbrella of what we call ESG and sustainable investing. As you can see, there are many options, and we walk our clients through, again, trying to screen what's most important to them and what's going to fit their overall financial plan that's in line with their values. So how do we integrate values-based investing into our planning process? Well, we believe that your assets are just one part of who you are. You do have goals, you have interests, values, relationships, and certainly we all have our own way of thinking and our own experiences. And our goal is simply to place your values at the center of your financial plan, aligning with your investment strategies exactly what's most important to you. We also will help you to get clarity to articulate your values and to develop a holistic plan that will weather the storms as you go through the seasons of life.